Are action movies coming back? Well, I guess you could probably argue that they never really left, right? After all, we've had the Marvel movies and Fast and the Furious and whatnot and John Wick, and they've largely been massive financial successes. Well, not as much Marvel anymore, but you never know, might swing back around pretty soon. But for me, these types of films always come with that asterisk next to them. Like, they're looked on as lesser, mindless entertainment for the lowest common denominator. You know what I mean? And honestly, historically, I think even I've been guilty of that sort of thinking. It seems to be just one of those trends, and honestly, sometimes it does feel like even the people who make them, they know this too. They cast actors based on appearance and muscles and whatnot, rather than just genuine acting ability. They don't really care all that much about the writing and the script. We're here for the explosions and the action. We don't care about the rest, that's the perspective they're going with. Hell, the plot for the OG Transformers films? You know, it's a bit thin at times, bit whack, but I didn't care. I was there to see robots fight. Good acting, good scripts, who cares? I'm here for a good time, blow him up. But hey, that doesn't mean there hasn't been really well-made and well-acted / scripted action films coming out over the years. I just feel like they stopped getting much attention compared to their heyday. The type of actors you'd see appear in these films, they'd usually fall into a particular type of, performer. Like, not always, but usually. Dwayne, I'm looking at you, son. Stop being late to set. But yeah, action movies, they haven't always been my thing. I dropped off them for a good long while. I'd still see some, like Jumanji or Jungle Cruise, but I mean, it's The Rock. You know what you're getting into with that kind of thing. And Marvel's latest efforts, they just continue to kill my interest in the action genre in general. And so when this movie, The Fall Guy, was announced, I was a bit on the whole thing. Until I saw the cast, and the fact that the movie was being made and set in Australia. That got my patriotism tingling. And then the fact it was starring Ryan Gosling, that got me super excited too. Dude's on a hot run in Hollywood right now. He's just come off starring in Barbie, the most commercially successful film of 2023 and the 14th highest grossing film ever, which is not too shabby if you ask me. And so of course this got me very interested. And then the rest of the film got cast too, and for the first time in quite a while, I found myself rather hyped for a non-Marvel action flick. You know, simply based on that Australian setting and Ryan Gosling, because the dude's become a bona fide draw. It's honestly insane. And so yeah, I went to see it, and like the sheep that I am, before I went into the cinema, I just had to check whether it had good reviews or not. And so far, yeah, it does. It hasn't actually released in many places as of right now, so no audience score as of writing this, but the critical score sits at 86%, which is not too bad. And no idea how it's going to do at the box office, because like I said, as of writing this, it hasn't released many places. But I do think it's going to do quite well. It's a good film, that should help with word of mouth, and Ryan Gosling is a hot commodity right now, so that should help move tickets too. But we'll see, won't we? So, yeah, went to see the movie, and to put it bluntly, I thought it was great. It's just great. But I suppose you probably want a bit more than just great. So let's jump into things, shall we? Spoilers from here on out. So the film follows the character of Colt Seavers, an in-demand stunt performer who's worked with action film star Tom Ryder for years, and who at the beginning of the film was dating camera operator and aspiring director Jodie. After a stunt gone wrong almost leaves him paralysed, he drops off the grid, abandons his career and his girlfriend, and becomes a parking valet. And after 18 months, he's contacted by Tom's film producer Gail, who tells him that Jodie's directing her first ever feature film and has requested that he join the stunt team, which turns out to be a lie perpetrated by Gail to get him to Australia so he can help her track down Tom, who's gone MIA. And so here begins the drama for Colt, as he begins a long and wild goose chase to uncover what has actually happened to Tom. He fights thugs who tried to kidnap Tom's personal assistant, who had a phone with key evidence on it. He gets drugged by mobsters. He finds the corpse of his replacement stunt double Henry. He finds Tom's phone, which reveals he accidentally killed Henry at a drunken party in his apartment. Colt and stunt coordinator Dan, as well as the stunt dog, get into a battle in Tom's apartment against the thugs, in which the phone is destroyed, and then after Dan and the dog leave, it's revealed that Tom and Gail had set everything up to begin with the intention of deep-faking Colt onto the footage of Tom killing Henry to frame him. And then they plan to kill him to make it look like a murder-suicide. And on top of that, it's revealed that Tom had staged the original accident that almost crippled Colt, so whoops. And so, big time betrayal. It wasn't an accident that Colt fell at the beginning of the movie. They'd been planning to kill him or cripple him and end his career. You know, what a lovely bunch of people these are. And so Colt fights back, he manages to escape from certain death, and after a huge chase sequence on a boat in Sydney Harbour, Colt manages to fake his own death, link up with Jodie and Dan, who assemble the film crew to get a confession from Tom, so he and Gail can be busted. And also so Jodie can get her epic ending to her movie. We get yet another massive action set piece, and then it's a wrap. The villains lose, the romance is back on, the film is now starring Jason Momoa, and it's a big success. It's all smooth sailing, although Do you reckon they had to go and superimpose Jason Momoa over all the stuff that Tom had already filmed, or did they just have to reshoot the whole movie? Because, whew, that's one way to balloon that budget, yeesh. And yeah, there's a lot about this film to love, like a lot. So much to enjoy. It really does fire on all cylinders. For starters, for an action film, which is really a genre you can get away with a bare-bones story, it actually has a really deep and layered narrative. Like, the actual mystery storyline, I thought that was very well done. And whilst it was clear that not everything was as it seemed the further along you got, I still managed to be swerved for the most part. It wasn't until you actually see what's on the phone that you realise that the film doesn't have a generic save the idiot movie star from getting murdered by mobsters plot, but actually a darker story. It's almost a horror in some ways, like a psychological horror. His whole life is almost ruined. The idea of them murdering him, and not only that, but destroying his legacy forever, making him out to be some sort of jealous monster that murdered an innocent man, and all using AI deepfake technology, whew, topical and horrific. And so it lets you buy into it. But then it has those smaller story threads as well, and deeper characterization. Colt's lacking confidence in his ability to pull off stunts, and he slowly works his way through that during the course of the movie, as he's forced to do it to survive. And then there's also the undercurrent of the romance, where Colt and Jodie clearly still love each other and want to be together, but Jodie's still struggling with Colt abandoning her, and that ties back into his feelings of failure and inferiority after his accident. And since Colt's still in love with her, he keeps pushing further and further into this mystery to ensure she can finish her movie. So that way, she doesn't have her career completely tanked and destroyed from an unfinished, over-budget film. Although something tells me, with the sudden casting of Jason Momoa, the film is definitely going over budget. But anyway, since Colt is so unwilling to allow her to fail, he sticks around and eventually finds himself getting framed for murder. Although, pretty sure, when you think about it, they'd probably be able to analyse this sort of evidence, the Australian courts, the deepfake video, to determine that it's not even real. So, whilst they did have that scanner thing for Colt, I think they'd still be able to fix this. He wouldn't actually get framed. I'm pretty sure, at least. Although, if he killed himself, I guess it would just be pretty clear-cut, wouldn't it? They wouldn't even bother. Although I reckon some internet cowboy would still analyse this and find the footage had been doctored, and you know what? That is a bit of a plot hole for me. Oh well. But then again, I guess you could explain that away as, no one said Hollywood types are smart. Honestly, I don't even know why they did this to begin with. Why didn't they just go to the personal assistant, get the phone back, destroy it, and then put Henry in a body bag filled with rocks and toss him off a boat into the Sydney Harbour? There's literally no need to frame anybody. Just dump his corpse. Oh well. But yeah, such interesting story threads all weave together and intersect at different times in such different ways. And it's just very unexpectedly well done in my eyes for an action film. It's just so good, and I very much enjoyed it. On top of that, even on just the more general writing side of things, the dialogue and whatnot, I feel like it was, I don't know how to describe it. I liked that it was not taking itself too seriously. The situations, the way the characters speak, the things they say, it was so goofy and unserious. Almost to the point that sometimes it seemed like it was a bit of a parody. And this was coupled with some really great performances from the cast. Like, every role was being played to perfection. And just, they did their absolute best with the script. Rotten Tomatoes' little blurb that they give with the films reads as follows. With action, comedy, romance, and a pair of marvelously matched stars, The Fall Guy might be the rare mainstream movie with something to entertain everyone. And honestly, this feels very true. Like, the story's good, the comedy's there, the romance is wholesome, Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling have great performances with good chemistry, just does everything really well, especially the action, my god. The action set pieces here were fun, nothing extremely revolutionary or anything like that, but epic nonetheless. They're hitting a lot of the classic stunt tropes, hanging from the chopper, rolling the car, fight on a moving vehicle, big brawl in the apartment where people have been put through the furniture like it's WWE, explosions, speedboats. It has it all. And it should. After all, it's a celebration of stuntmen pretty much. That's what this film feels like. And I enjoyed how they managed to infuse so much of that comedy, the physical comedy and quips, into the action. It's a film that didn't take itself too seriously. The filmmakers seemingly set out to make a jack-of-all-trades movie, and that's what they did. They made a banger movie that fires on all cylinders. Is it going to win any Oscars? Probably not, but who cares? Who gives a shit? It was fun and will hopefully do well at the box office, and that's all you need. Make more movies like this, please. Action movies with fun and exciting storylines, really good actors, putting on good performances with great dialogue. That's what the industry needs. Hell yeah! Convince the top level actors to be in these movies. It's so much fun because they're clearly just going off the rails and having so much fun doing wacky, hammy shit. Hell yes. So yeah, not much else to say other than these have just been my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What did you think of The Fall Guy, if you've seen it? Did you like it, hate it? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.